You never fully achieve your goals, and 2026 will be no different unless you fix these key things. I'm going to make this clear that this isn't a set goals and manifest video. This is more of a reality check than anything. So I'm going to break down why goals fail, what you're probably doing wrong right now, and what you actually need to start doing instead if you actually want to see progress. And to be honest with you, most of these points I've learned the hard way and eventually realized what needed to be changed in order for me to succeed and actually hit my goals. All right, let's do this. So number one is that you rely on motivation instead of discipline. I feel like a lot of people tell themselves that they need motivation in order to succeed, and I feel like this is something I also told myself back in the day. But to be completely transparent with you, I feel like motivation is very temporary. What works a million times better is something called discipline. A bit of a side note, but I personally feel like the best way to actually grow in your 20s is by learning this skill. And to give you a better example, I didn't really learn this skill until I actually started physically going to the gym. It can definitely be really hard constantly showing up to something, especially if you're not seeing results right away. And I feel like the gym really showed me that. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to the gym to learn discipline. There's definitely other things that you could be doing. Although I do agree that a great starting point would honestly be the gym. I feel like a lot of people want to get in shape, and honestly, this might be one of your 2026 goals. And on top of that, I think it also teaches you another very important skill, which would be consistency. Like I said, I'm not telling you to go to the gym, but I think it's very important that you learn discipline. I'm also not saying that motivation is bad, but I'm saying that you shouldn't rely on it. Teach yourself that skill, and I promise you that everything will come a lot easier in life. The second thing that I want to talk about is that you're setting goals that are way too big and too vague. I feel like a lot of people always say things like, I want to get in shape, or I want to make more money, I want to be more disciplined, but those aren't really goals, they're just more so ideas than anything. Big goals sound good, but they also don't tell you what to do tomorrow morning when you wake up. And I think the best way to fix this is breaking that goal down. I think that you need to be setting smaller goals within that big goal. And what I mean by this, for example, and sorry if I keep bringing up the gym to use for examples, but I feel like it's just super easy to talk about and just relatable, I guess. But so if you're saying something like, oh, I want to get in shape, or I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle, well, what is the actual goals that's going to get you there? If you quickly think about it, the answers to that example would be consistency. So like, how much are you actually going to the gym? How many times per week? How long are you going at a time? What's your diet? There's a bunch of different things that go into this, but I think you need to come up with a strategy and a plan that is going to get you towards that goal. Instead of just saying that you want to gain 10 pounds of muscle, what are actions that you can be doing that can lead you closer to that goal? If you want, you can try to look at it as if it's a video game. At the very end of the level, there's typically some sort of boss that you have to defeat, but focus more on the steps that you have to complete first in order to get there. Look at the game Mario, for example. In order to save the princess and defeat Bowser, you have to go through all these small things first, such as the Goombas, the Piranha Plants, Shy Guys, and all these other things. You got to complete all these other levels to actually get to the end goal. So try to come up with these small systems that you can beat that will get you closer to the end goal. And my best advice is make it realistic. If you tell yourself that you want to go to the gym 7 days a week and it's very tough for you to do that, whether you have work, you're playing sports, whatever it is, try to condense that down. Condense it down into something that you can actually hit. If you know that you have enough time to go to the gym 3 times a week, then do that. And then break it down even more. I'm going to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Have specific days, have specific times. Create these systems that are actually going to get you to the end goal. I don't know how many times I'm going to say end goal in this video, but I guess we'll see. My third point is that you're trying to fix everything all at once. Honestly, this point might be my main focus of the year. I feel like a lot of times people have so many different goals that they're all telling themselves in their head. Examples could be waking up at 5 a.m., eating perfect, working out daily, reading books, starting a business. Like there's so many different things that you could be thinking in your head that you want to do, which is completely fine. But what you need to be doing is focus on one thing at a time. Have you ever realized when you got too many things on your mind or you're doing too many things at once that you just completely forget something? The same thing is going to happen with your goals. If you're focused on too many goals at once, it's very hard to complete any of them because you're not focused and you're not putting your time and consistency into one of those things. If you're putting all your time and focus into one of those things, it's going to be a lot easier to complete. Think about how easy it is to juggle one ball. It's not really juggling because you're just throwing it up and then you're catching it, right? But as soon as you add another ball in, it's a lot harder to do it. Let alone adding a third ball, I think we all know that it's very hard to do so. I don't even know if I can actually juggle 3 balls. What I'm trying to say is focus on throwing up that one ball and then catching it. The time and consistency that you put into one thing instead of trying to spread it is going to get you there a lot faster. And I know for me that focusing on one thing is a whole lot easier than trying to multitask and focus on a bunch of different things at once, because that easily overstimulates me and then I can't all of a sudden even focus on the one thing. So pick one goal, not 5, not overall self-improvement, just one. More importantly, pick the goal that if you fixed it, it would make everything else easier. Just a quick super personal example for me, I want to get back into the gym. My girlfriend keeps telling me to go into the gym with her and I would love to do that. Although my priority and my single goal right now is this YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow it and make as many videos as fast as possible. If I start dedicating my time to the gym and possibly even diet, whatever else that comes with that, it's going to distract me and I know I'm not going to complete my goal as fast as I would like to. And this leads me to my 4th point, which is you overestimate what you can do in a week and underestimate what you can do in a year. Most times people quit because the progress feels slow. I know that I'm guilty for this. You expect all these massive results to happen in the next 30 days, and when you don't see them, you just kind of assume that it's not really working. But most times progress doesn't show up right away. Sometimes you can get lucky, but most times it's probably something that's compounding quietly in the background. You don't really notice it week to week, but month to month, year to year, typically you will see a difference. An easy way to fix this is stop judging the process too early. If your goal, for example, was to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by a certain point, don't look at the progress of the numbers. Look at the progress that you're actually making with yourself. Are you staying consistent? Are you sticking to the plan that you originally came up with in order to hit this goal? I personally think that that's a better way to look at the progress, because then you can actually tell yourself like, yes, I did do those things, which is giving yourself validation, and that tells you that you are making progress. It's just quietly compounding, and I promise you those things are going to add up eventually and get you to where you want to be. The next point, which I believe is number 5, is your environment. Environment can leave a huge impact on you in so many different ways. I'm not going to sit here and tell you something basic like your network is your net worth, although I am going to tell you that your environment should be supporting your goals. And if you're asking yourself, what the heck does he mean by environment? I'm not talking about the specific place that you're living or where you are right now, although that could be a factor too. I'm more so talking about the things that are around you in everyday life and also the people. An easy example for this would be, say something like you want to eat better, but there's still junk food all around your house. Ask yourself if you think that's a good environment to be in. How are you supposed to focus on your diet plan if you're still eating junk food? The simple solution to this is just don't buy the junk food anymore. Obviously, this is a lot easier said than done, and most times you're probably in a worse environment than you think you are. For a long time, I didn't realize how big of an impact people can actually make on you, especially if you're seeing these people every single day. At my old job, I was working for one of my friends, and I honestly never realized how much of an impact they could put on me and how much they were distracting me and almost pulling me away from my goals. I won't go too much into detail, but needless to say that I finally found out that I was in a toxic environment and I eventually left. And I'll tell you right now that I'm doing a whole lot better. So try and figure out yourself whether you're in a good or bad environment. Look at the things and people around you. Are these getting you closer to your goals? And if the answer is no, then it's probably something you should cut off. I know that cutting things or people off can be very hard sometimes, but you just got to tell yourself, imagine where you'd be if you cut that thing or person off or whatever it is. Leave it in the past and move on. If you guys are liking the video so far, make sure you subscribe below so you can see more content like this. Number 6 is that you confuse being busy with making progress. This is another big one, especially for me. And to be honest, this might sting a little bit, but I want to tell you right now that planning isn't progress, researching isn't progress, watching videos isn't progress, action is progress. And don't get me wrong, you should definitely be doing these things before you start something, whatever it is. But I think the big problem here for most people is that they get stuck on this for way too long. This is something I also like to call mental masturbation. You kind of get stuck and obsessed with the idea of doing something. And I think the more that you do that, the more dopamine that you're feeding yourself. And although this is giving you motivation in the moment, like I said before, this isn't going to last long. What you need to do is rewire the dopamine sectors in your brain. I know this may sound a little bit confusing, but instead of watching these YouTube videos all day long and thinking that you're actually making progress by it just because you know more, you have to replace that dopamine with actions, meaning do the thing instead of daydreaming about it all day long. I was actually really guilty for this when I was starting up my side business. I was literally watching Alice Hormozi every second of the day and thought I was actually making progress in a way, but really I was just feeding myself dopamine that wasn't actually real results. Sure, I might have learned more about the specific topic, whatever I was learning, but it was also just repetitive procrastinating. I was literally mental masturbating, but that wasn't really getting me anywhere. So get the hell off the internet and start doing something, please. I know I sound like a dick when I say that, but that's definitely something that I needed to hear before. Identify the very first action that you need to do and then start with that. You don't need to have a whole game plan that you're just going to consistently think about over and over, because I promise you this is just going to lead to procrastination. Figure out what the very first small step is and go from there. Point number 7 is that you quit when it gets boring. I definitely understand that early progress is exciting. This is something that you maybe haven't seen before. Going back to the gym example, it's a lot easier to build muscle at first and also see the results that you're gaining. That could even be like hitting a new PR, but then eventually things kind of get stale. You start lifting the same amount of weight for the same reps. You consistently keep running the same distance that you always have within the same time. Things just get boring because you don't really see the results. And the results are the exciting part. And honestly, in my opinion, I feel like this is where most people quit. Not because it gets hard, but because it gets repetitive. And this is where I think that learning to be consistent really matters. I know it gets boring and you're not really seeing results right now, but if you stay on track and if you stay consistent, I promise you that you will start seeing results again. So although you may not see it, I can assure you that results are happening in the background. It's just invisible to you right now. Keep going, stay consistent, and more importantly, just don't stop. I also want to mention that just because it seems boring, you shouldn't switch what you're doing. I feel like a lot of business people and entrepreneurs can relate to this the most. But for example, if your business or side hustle, whatever it is, kind of plateaus and it's just staying at the same point for a long time, you kind of start overthinking your head and think about like, oh, what if I can do that business instead? My friend Paul is telling me how much money he's making and it's only been a month. That business seems way better than mine. It's things like that that are going to throw you off your path and make you not want to be consistent. As Hormozy always says, you keep trying to look for the girl in the red dress. Be loyal, stop looking at her, and stay where you are. I promise you it's going to get you further in the long run. I feel like this video is getting a little long, so I'm going to mention one last point. Point number 8 is that you never decide who you actually want to be. I know earlier I talked about focusing on the small goals, but for a second, I want you to look at the big picture here. What do you want to be known for? Imagine you got invited to your favorite podcast to come on their show and talk about who you are, what you've done, how successful you are, and everything like that. Like, what is your story and what would you want to tell people? I feel like this is a more effective way of actually trying to figure out who you want to be, who you want to become, because I know that this is a very difficult question. Sometimes I can't even answer this question myself. Usually I tell myself like, oh, I want to become better, I want to be successful, I want to have this great story that I can tell to everyone. But what actually is that story? And I think that the best story that you can tell is your journey. What did you do to get where you are? Remember that you're the narrator of the story, you're the narrator of your own life, so you get to choose what you want to do, who you can be. It's all up to you. No one else can make these decisions for you. So just remember, at the end of the day, to get to where you want to be, the only person that you should be relying on is yourself. I know it's a deep one, but I think it's really important to understand in order to actually get to where you want to be. So to wrap up this video, ask yourself, where's your destination and how are you going to get there? I'm going to give you a piece of advice. You are the only one in this entire world who can answer that question. Remember to focus on just that one goal right now. Break it down, create a strategy, create habits around it, and I promise you, you will get there sooner than later. Comment below what that one goal of yours is. I'm very interested to know, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.